Hey YouTube, Sam Frank here. This week's episode of Hobby Talk, I wanted to do a great like a review or grading the slabs, the different slabs of some cards that I have and have acquired over the years. And you have the main grading companies. You got PSA, you have BGS, you've got SGC, you got CGC, and a litany of other grading companies. And I wanted to just go through and give an honest review of what I think of the slabs and taking in as many aspects of it as I can. And we'll see what you think. So I'm actually ranking these from the worst that I think they are to the best. And these are just ones that I have examples of. I'm not going to, I don't have an HGA slab. I wish I did, because they kind of innovated the label matching the card type of deal and such, but I don't that's an example of one I don't have. So we're going to start off here. This is my lowest rated one, and that is the Diamond Service Grading. And I will say, guys, I do have these in sleeves, so they're ultra clear sleeves, so it should not affect the images of how clear the plastic is. But just warning you ahead of time that these do have sleeves on, and I'm not going to take them out. Okay, so the plastic on this is not very good. And by the way, these might say PSA on them. It's because the sleeve says PSA. It's not because it's a PSA slab. So this is a Mookie Betts in action. This is a French text one. This was actually for my brother's collection, but since it's in this Diamond Service Grading DSG French, so the label looks very cheap. I don't like the look of that label. It looks like a cheap foily card. They did use their diamond there. It's like a little bit off-centered there over the grade. It does have a cert number, and there's a code there. I guess you can go look at their database or brings them to their website or something. But this is Diamond Service Grading. But I was not impressed with the look of the slab. I think the label is probably the worst thing. It's just not an interesting looking label, and it looks cheap. And it seems like the plastic is not as clear. So it is similar in shape to the PSA slabs. It's got decent weight to it, but it's like, I think the value of these are not going to be anything more than like a raw card, because I don't think anybody respects a DSG as a grader. All right, next, BCCG. I believe this is a Beckett company. Yeah, Beckett collectible card grading or something like that. This is not like the BSG. I'm not sure what this company is, but I've seen some of their slabs. They're a thinner slab than the regular BGS one, but it seems like they hand out tins all the time, and their tin is considered mint. See, this is considered like a PSA near mint to mint 8. They give almost everything tins, just saying they're mint or better. So, of course, no subgrades. I don't know why you would ever use this company to grade your cards. It's an ugly label, honestly, just a white printed out paper label. It does have a number. Maybe you can look that up on their thing and it'll verify the card and all that. But, yeah, very generic looking. And I think it is a decent plastic that they use. More clear. But, I know for a fact that if you sell this as a BCCG 10, it's not going to sell for much more than just a raw card. All right. Next up, this is a pretty new one to me anyway. It's the Arena Club. Their label doesn't look terrible. They do grade autos and the card. So they're saying this card is a 9 mint and the auto is a 10. I do notice in here that looks like the card is in a sleeve inside there. Yeah, because you can see there's some waviness. I think there's a sleeve inside there. So this is a really cool card. Their label doesn't look terrible. And it does have subgrades, which is nice. But there have been some people that have been very suspicious of the grades of Arena Club, and in fact have cracked out like 9.5s and stuff of Arena Club, sent them in to like a PSA and gotten way different grades. Like pretty much if something in here is like a 9 or 9.5, you cannot just assume that is like a gem mint or mint grade. I think they use a lot of computer technology to grade, which maybe, you know, they missed some things. Like this one guy, he had a card that actually had a roller mark on the back of the card, and they had it as a 9.5, and of course PSA will not grade that over, and he sent the PSA and it got a 6, which it should have because it had an indent of the roller mark. So very suspicious grading on these, but that is a cool. The slab doesn't look terrible. The plastic is not bad. The weight feels okay. They look okay, and they do have subgrades, but it's like, can you put any credence into their subgrades? I don't know. But another company that their graded stuff is not going to sell for much more than raw. Next one I will go with is FCG. This is forensic card grading. Now, the slabs for FCG actually look really nice. Nice clear plastic. I do like the labels. They're handsome looking labels. They do have subgrades, which is always nice. It seems like their grading, from what I've experienced, is pretty accurate. But again, it's just not a big name grading company. I see a lot of card shops, hobby shops that really push this company, so maybe they've tried to market through hobby shops in some way. So my thought is I do like it, and I think it's a good gauge of what this card might end up getting. Like, I would expect this to probably be similar to a PSA 9. Their 9 is similar to PSA 9, even though everything got 10s except for centering, but I think the centering would probably hold that back from getting a 10 at PSA. So it gives you a decent idea, and I feel like I can trust that they're grading a little bit more than some of these other companies. But again, the value is what holds us back, and name recognition. Like, people are going to go on eBay and just treat this like a raw card. So you're paying to get graded, maybe a nice looking slab, protect your card, but I would not expect my card to be worth a bunch more because it's in their slab. I can't tell if this has an inner sleeve or not. It might, because it doesn't rattle around in here. So they've done some good things with their slab, but it's mainly that last part, the value. All right, next. This is Alpha Investment, Rudy's grading company, PCG, which they don't say what the PCG stands for. But anyway, it feels like they have gone with kind of like a Beckett style grading. The label is very nice. I love that they have subgrades there. They describe the card, but it doesn't say sorcery on there anywhere on the front of that card. It does say on the back though, so you have a lot of info on the back. It doesn't give you the sorcery. It just calls it sorcery, not sorcery contested realm or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. I do like the look of it. I think they grade pretty strictly, but I think anything attached with Rudy is going to have a lot of people like not interested, you know, and I get why. I feel like there's a lot of conflict of interest of a guy that, yeah, if you're a fan of awesome. But a guy that grades stuff and grades his promos, there's a lot of conflict of, and since he's such a big collector slash investor slash he keeps a lot of stuff for down the road, you could easily see him keeping all of his high grade stuff. I'm just saying. It seems very within his personality. So, and I would think that he would want his to be the only high grade stuff. So I would not trust his grades that much, but I do think that it is a pretty strict grading. But I just question what's the right word? His motivations for your grades, especially since he has a lot of high grade stuff. He's very interested in the bottom line of his collection. I'll just say that. But the card looks nice. It's got really good weight to the slab. I think it looks good in their slab. But again, why would you pay more for this than like a PSA 9? There's just no reason. All right, now we start getting some of the main grading companies. Now this is CSG. I believe they've changed their name to CCG. There's been a CCG for TCG stuff, and then there was the CSG for the sports side. Same company. But they definitely have the nicest looking slab, like the plastic part. I'm not a fan of this label that much, but as far as they use a high grade, very clear plastic on their cards, grading cards. Very bare bones here on the back, but this plastic is very clear, and I don't think it works as well with sports, but with TCGs, the cards really look good in their slab. At least, and then we'll get into it a little bit later. But the problem with CSG is people do not respect the grades. They don't value the grades, I should say. I think they kind of respect it a little bit, but as far as like value, you're not gonna like. This is probably below an SGC, below a BGS. Like if you had 9s across the board, it would be worth less than all those other big 3 companies. But the cards feel good. The slab feels good. It's just more of a label thing that I don't really like that much about them. All right. Next, we're going to go with CGC or SGC. Man, there's so many synonyms. And by the way, this stands for Certified Sports Guarantee. And then SGC, I can't remember what SGC actually stands for, but I think, this is going to be a hot sports opinion, I think that the SGC slab is by far the ugliest of all the slabs. Now, maybe it works good with the vintage, really old stuff, but I hate their slabs. The slabs, for one, are very annoying because they're much bigger. As you can see, they're a bigger size slab than kind of like the standard that a lot of other companies use. I'm not a fan of this black around here, and I'm not a fan of their label. It's very, I mean, it's not terrible, but it just, I know that's their trademark, kind of, but it just doesn't work for me. It's an ugly slab. Their grades, I don't trust their grades as much as I do some of the other companies, but I do trust them when it comes to vintage baseball. And that's about the only thing that I think that they're like top rank is their vintage baseball is pretty solid grades. But even then, they don't hold up next to like a PSA. Like this card right here, they gave it a 7.5 near mint plus. To me, I see scratches on here, so I know right off the top with scratches on the surface, it would never grade higher than a 7 at PSA. And then looking at the edges, there's a lot of whitening. It looks like it's been played quite a bit, so at the very best, this card would be a PSA 6. So right away, I know their Pokemon grades are a little bit off. So, and honestly, I think the card just doesn't look good in that slab. All right, but they are a very respected grading company and are definitely in the top 3. And you will get more money for an SGC than a graded card than some of these other companies that we've talked about coming up to this point. Now, the next one on my list is the BGS. Now, BGS has a lot of fans, and at one time, BGS was king. They've had a lot of problems, a lot of controversies that's knocked them down, and because of that, you got to think, just because one company is currently the king of grading doesn't mean they're always going to be that way. So BGS can be a lesson for that. Another thing I don't really love about BGS is their slabs also. Really odd. They're the square size. They are very thick, take up more space than some of the other grading companies. So I grade them down a little bit on their slab because of that. But then again, that's what people have. That's what they've done this whole time. And they do put a nice inner sleeve on the cards inside the slab, which gives it even more protection. So I feel very confident that my card is going to be okay. It's not going to get damaged inside the slab. If I happen to want to crack this out of the slab, you got that added protection there. So also, they no doubt have the top of the line, top valued card with their BGS black labels, which is perfect 10s on everything. If you get all 10s, you get the black label. It's a beautiful looking slab and garners by far the highest value of anything. But with their subgrades are awesome too. But if you don't have subgrades, it looks very bare bones there, I've noticed. So BGS very known for their subgrades, known for their black label 10s. Also, their 9.5s are considered gem mint, which I trust somewhat, but I do not trust grades below their 8 point or below the 9.5s. I think you're getting a mixed bag once you get to like their grade 9s and 8.5s and 8s and stuff like that. Could be much worse actual grades. They do have a nice little addition here when you grade the autograph with the autograph grade. Other companies, you got to pay extra for that. But BGS has definitely fallen down the rankings of what people like to grade with. Their submission system is archaic. That hurts them quite a bit. But there are some old school people that love the BGS slab and will always love it. So it's always going to be ranked very highly. Despite some of the negatives maybe today. But I am not a huge fan of it because of how thick the slab is. And I think they could use some upgrades, but you can't really, it's really tough to do that when you're a grading company, to change things. All right, next I have the newer style CGC slab. This is what they have now for Pokemon. I think it's just a TCG where they do the CGC, Certified Guarantee Company. Very similar to the sports one. As you can tell, it's the same company. This is just the TCG side. Again, very bare bones on the back. But that plastic is fantastic. Very clear. The card, especially a TCG card, just pops in this slab. I'm not a fan of the label, and I'll tell you here in a minute why. The grade, at one time, a CGC 10 meant something. and they changed their grading to make it really easy to get 10s, and now they've ruined their grading reputation, with me at least. Because before, you could take a CGC 9.5 and feel like you're getting a Gem Mint card. Now that they made their grades much easier to get higher grades, it's really hurt them. And, you know, it's hurt their 10s before. Like, their old 10s were, like, impossible to get. Now they hand them out like sweet candy. And it's really hurt their company, I think. Where they were a real serious contender to PSA at one point, especially in the TCG stuff. But the cards look beautiful on these slabs. There's no doubt. They pop. Just not a fan of that. Okay, so this was CGC before they changed their labels. I love this slab. Now, when they first came out, they had a little bit of problems where they cracked open very easy. I think they fixed that. But this is the old school CGC. You got this blue label with subgrades. This was the best shot at taking down PSA, was the CGC blue label with subgrades when they were grading very tough. Like, I rank this just as good as a PSA 10. And especially when it has the subgrades. Because the card looks amazing in this slab. It pops. You actually have a little more stuff on the back here. Very clear plastic. The plastic is the same as this. It's just a different label. But this label, when they had the blue label, they were much stricter graders. I don't remember when exactly they switched to easy grading, but you know, whenever I see a CGC 9.5 with subgrades in the blue label, I feel very confident that is a very nice card. Like, I love this Dragonite Japanese card. Okay, so I put them number 2. Number 1, without a doubt, and this can always change years down the road, it is PSA. PSA has been very consistent as far as their look. I feel like their grading has been not that consistent, but at least their grading scale has always remained the same. Gem Mint is a 10. There's no 9.5s nonsense. They do have some half grades, but it's very rare. It's basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the 10 is the Gem Mint, 9 is mint, 8 near mint, and as you go on down. And 1 is like poor. PSA 10s hold, you know, they're not super tough to get, but they hold way more value than some of the other companies' 9.5s and stuff. Now, a BGS 10 is still probably the king of, like, a graded value, but it's just really hard to get a BGS 10. And CGC 10, when they were tough graders, would hold a premium over PSA 10, but now that's gone away since they've gone to an easier grading. So the PSA 10, as far as card for card, you're going to get your best value with a PSA grade. And I know people are not going to want to hear that, but it is what it is. PSA is not without their problems. So you can send in a card to PSA, get a PSA 8, crack it out, send it in again, and you might get a 10. You might get a 9. Their grading is so inconsistent, it's borderline maddening. And that's what a lot of people do, is they get their PSA 9s, look them over. If they look good, they'll crack them out, send them in, and get a 10 sometimes. Sometimes it almost feels like there's too much variance from grader to grader. And they've done that to themselves by making things a little loose to interpretation. But if you're wanting to protect your cards, a PSA slab is very good. The label has remained consistent throughout their whole time. It's a nice looking label, gives you your information. The back is great, gives you your info. This lighthouse thing back here is really good. You can scan it, do all that stuff. I use PSA, and I'll always use PSA. Sometimes they'll have some really good specials too, but you know, PSA right now is king. And if you just don't like PSA and you want to use other companies, that's fine, but don't expect your cards to be worth as much as they are in a PSA label. It's just, fair or not, a PSA 10 commands more premium than most of the other grades besides like a BGS 10. So that is my thoughts. I have to rank them number one. They're still the king. They grade the most cards. They, for what it is, they're pretty consistent as far as major things. Like if there's an indent on your card, they're not going to grade it an 8 or a 9. It's going to get a 6 at the best. So at least you know if you're buying a PSA like 8 or 9 or 10, you're getting a near mint to mint card. That's another really good plus about PSA. And if you get a PSA 10, you know that's the top of the rank there. So, but anytime with graded stuff, guys, buy the card, not the grade, they always say. And the reason they say that is because there's always little inconsistencies. You could have this card, and you could have 100 PSA 9s that look better than this card, but this one happened to get a 10. That's the stupidness of grading. But it's just part of it. So buy the card, not the grade. Don't sweat it if your card gets a 9. You know, if you're wanting to sell it and you think it's a 10, just crack it out and resend it. Unless it's serialized, which they will look and see, oh, we've already graded this, and they won't try it. They won't regrade it again. But if it's something that's not serialized, you don't like your grade, and you think you got a bad grader, you got pop controlled or whatever, and it's worth it to do it, just crack it out and resend it. I'm doing an order coming up at some point where it's going to be all cracked out cards sending in to get graded, and I wanted to do that to show, you know, video proof on my channel that their grading is very inconsistent. But overall, I have to rank them number one because the PSA 10 sells for a very good price, and couple that with it's not impossible to get a PSA 10. All right, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos later.